Hi, welcome to the living room and celebrating our Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month and celebrating our Asian diversity here at Ford. My name is Stephanie Coleman and I am very honored to be the moderator today. We have 5 excellent panelists that are coming from 3 different of our ERGs and really going to share their thoughts, their perspectives, and their personal stories with you today. And for me, I find that when I start to look outside of just my background and how I experience the world and understand how others' background and how they experience the world, that truly can grow and really understand the world that we all live in together. We have some pre-submitted questions today, and if you have any questions at all during the session, we welcome you to put it into the chat, especially if you're interested in joining any of these ERGs, and we'll respond to you after the session today. I'd like to turn it over now to our outstanding panelists, really the stars of the show, and make sure that they get all the time they need to be able to share their backgrounds. So I'd like to introduce them where they can share a little bit about themselves, where they work here at Ford, the ERG that they're a part of, and even the role that they have within that. So to start off with, from our Ford Asian Indian Association, I'd like to welcome Sri Ganapathy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sri Ganapathy. I currently lead the Design Ops enablement teams within Ford's enterprise technology. I've been with Ford for about 20 years, and I'm a passionate proponent of diversity at Ford. And I'm involved with the Ford Asian Indian Association almost since its inception. FAIA is not only the largest ERG at Ford, but one of the largest professional organizations of its kind in Michigan. Outside work, I like to give back to the community, and I lead a nonprofit organization promoting classical art forms in Southeast Michigan. My background, I'm an engineer. I have a bachelor's in engineering, master's, and an MBA from Wayne State. And I love to travel. I do road trips in new countries, learning new cultures and experiencing their local customs. As a family, we have traveled to 33 countries and currently live in Novi, Michigan with my wife and 2 daughters.
Thank you so much, Sri. And also from the Ford Asian Indian Association, we have Gargi Shah.
Thank you, Steph, and thank you everyone for making time and joining, this event. We are privileged to be here and share our experiences and thoughts. With that, my name is Gargi Shah. I've been at Ford for 23 years, and during my tenure at Ford, I was privileged to work in many business functional areas such as electric vehicle, Ford Pass, connected vehicles, marketing and sales, and so on. And why that is important is because it allowed me to work with, wonderful diverse group of people as well. I'm very passionate about people and people development. I also believe that the future is created based on what we do today. So with that, I also lead the personal development committee into FAIA. As well as I volunteer quite a bit into the MCWT for the Girls Hall IT program. On personal level, I have 2 wonderful daughters. I live with my daughters and my husband at Canton, Michigan. I have master's in computer science, like Sri from the Wayne State University. Like Sri, I also love to travel. I have traveled 30 plus countries, and that is really out of my love for the understanding different cultures and different aspects and perspective from the people. In addition, I love to cook. So whichever country I travel, I try to pick up 1 or 2 recipes and try my best to recreate them. All right. So with that, Steph, thank you.
Thank you so much, Gargi. From our Ford Chinese Association, we have Ed Dai.
Hi, Steph. Hello, everyone. My name is Ed Dai. I'm a supervisor and a technical expert of power unit connectivity and features in RA, leading the development of the power unit features and functions in the next generation EV platform and applications. I'm also the vice president of Ford Chinese Association, an employee resource group dedicating to promote the Chinese and Asian American heritage and culture, advance our members' career development, and support the DEI and business initiative of Ford including for China. I'm very passionate about people and community development, especially in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion. With FCA, we're helping the company to reach out the local AAPI and Chinese communities with strong goodwill. I'm living in Canton with my wife, and I have two daughters. One is in New York and other is in Boston. Outside my work, I enjoy traveling and reading. It's my pleasure to join this discussion.
Thank you so much, Ed. And also from the FCA, we have Nina Hughes.
Thanks, Stephanie. My name is Nina Hughes. I just joined the labor relations team working on the 2023 national UAW negotiations. Prior to that, I was in corporate strategy. And I've been with Ford for 4 years now, and this whole time I've been involved in the Ford Chinese Association, which has grown to become like my family here. So I'm very grateful to be part of that and wanting to kind of give back to the community. I've been serving on the board, helping out with the communications initiatives on FCA for the past year or so. Wonderful group of people. In addition to FCA, I'm also involved in some other ERGs like Women of Ford, Ford Climbing Club. And I live in Dearborn. Highly recommend those who come into the office here to explore the local Middle Eastern food scene. Amazing, really authentic. Just, another aspect of the diverse communities that we operate in. And I haven't traveled to nearly as many countries as Shri and Gargi, but I have lived in 7 different states in the US and the 2 countries. And yeah, great to be here.
Thank you so much, Nina. And we have from our Ford Filipino network, we have Percy Antonio.
Hi, everyone. It's a privilege to be here, talk about my experiences and also my background. I'm an enterprise architect on Guest XP, where our mission is to build a best-in-class vehicle servicing experience for our owners and also for our dealers. Right? As Steph mentioned, I'm part of Ford Filipino Network and part of the planning team. And really, FFN started way back in 2003, but in its recent revival, FFN is now under Ford Chinese Ford Chinese Association. And I just want to give a shout out to Chelsea Revita. She's actually one of the catalysts who, get us into FFNB being a real organization again. So thank you so much, Chelsea. Regarding my personal, I'm happily married with 2 kids. My son right now is a second lieutenant for the Army National Guard in Illinois and also works as a software quality engineer for a defense contractor. And my daughter is just finished her freshman year in East Lansing. So on spare time, to relieve stress, I love to dabble in playing guitar and piano. And like most Filipinos, I love singing karaoke too. So also, I just want to touch on the dress or the shirt I'm wearing today. It's called Barong Tagalog, and it's been worn like since pre-colonial times, and it's actually made of pineapple, fabric. So it's they weave it into a dress like this. So hopefully I'm looking good. So
Right.
that's me.
Thank you so much, Percy. And thank you, all of you. We're very lucky to have all of you here today and gonna jump into our first question. So how has your cultural background influenced your personal and professional experiences? Shri, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Great question. So being born and raised in India until my 20s, I bring my cultural background to work pretty much every day. DNI is kind of ingrained into our DNA as Asian Indian, and India is a very diverse country too. We have strong family ties. There is emphasis on teamwork rather than the individual, which makes it easy for me to understand my team and more importantly, my customers, making me like a better person to to manage my team where I talk less and listen more, building a cohesive, productive team. In addition, Asian Indians are very receptive and comfortable in embracing change and accept the fact that the only thing constant in life is change, right? Making them extremely resilient to major changes in the organization and very acceptable to that fact.
Thank you so much, Sri. And Ed, would you like to add some of your background in as well?
Yeah. So there are a lot of layers and perspectives in this question. I'm sure all of us can write an essay about it. Personally, I am a first-generation Chinese American coming to US as a graduate student in '95. Looking back after all these years, I think I will contribute to education as one defined factor in my life journey. So education is at the very core in Chinese culture, which is the oldest continuous civilization over 3,500 years of recorded history, according to the American History Association. One of the most popular phrases among Chinese youngsters in mainland when I was young was 好好学习，天天向上, meaning study hard, improve every day. We have this all over the place in our school, so everyone knows this. Education has provided me opportunities and shaped my experience at every turn throughout my life. You know, most of my AAPI and Chinese friends are bilingual or multilingual, since the language is integral part of the culture. As a bilingual, especially with the English and Chinese, like the night and day, everything's so different. We would inherently learn the difference, be flexible, and try to get the best from both cultures. So that's why I think education is very important and is really a defining factor in my life.
Thank you so much, Ed. Percy, would you like to share from your background?
Yeah. So in the Philippines, there's a community unity, a communal unity called Bayanihan, and you can search this up. It's B as in Bob, AYA, N as in Nancy, IHAN, and so it's basically helping others without expecting rewards in order to achieve a goal, right? And so in the earlier days, the houses are built in light materials like coconut leaves and probably bamboo sticks, right? So back then, if a family wants to move, literally they're gonna put sticks on the house, and the people, the whole community, will move the house to a new location where the family wants to live. But that's the spirit of that Filipinos been had for a long time, even before the Spanish colonization, right? So in my role as enterprise architect, right, there's a notion that the enterprise architect always come up with a solution on their own, initially based on their knowledge and experience, right? For the most part, that's true, but I think we need, in my part, I think we need to evolve it to be this role to be more collaborative, right? On my part, I've been an architect for about 12 years now, and I always try to get the opinions and views of the solution I come with from the different stakeholders of the solution. So I think for my part, because of our spirit of the community, that's I bring into work. Right? That's the concept that I bring into work, right? So I guess the more input you get on a solution, the well-rounded it will be, and probably could stand the test of time, right? So be more collaborative is what I'm trying to be in my role, and it so happens to be one of our 4OS behaviors right now, right? So
thank you so much, Percy. Great to understand the being flexible, adapting to change, education, and just that community sense that all of you bring. Thank you. Next question that we have is, what are some of the unique experiences and perspectives that the Asian American and Pacific Islander individuals bring to the workplace? Nina, would you like to start with this one?
Yeah, happy to. So I think, resonating with a lot of what was said by Shri, Ed, and Percy in the previous question, just adding on to two ideas. One is I think a lot of us have the experience of being an immigrant. I certainly have that as probably the biggest element of my identity. I would say I remember, coming here when I was 19 years old with two suitcases. Just enough money for my first semester of tuition. I didn't know anybody in this whole country. I barely spoke any English. Um, and I remember really vividly, like I never really operated a washing machine or a dryer. So even just figuring out how to use the quarters to operate the washing machine and the dryers in the basement of my dorm was a challenge. And those are things that you don't really necessarily think about when you've lived in this country for, decades. But those are all the things that we had to learn and deal with as an immigrant. Um, so I think, that experience really enabled us to lean into the aspects of ourselves that are resilient and adaptive and sort of the perseverance and the determination to make something of ourselves, um, from the small city or the small village that we come from to this big new world. And I think that that's probably something that a lot of us on this call can resonate with. And I think with that, we bring this just hard work and humbleness to the workplace. And I think that's really something that's really valuable about myself that I don't want to ever give up, even though I'm at a economical position, financial position now to, have a more comfortable life. And then another aspect of that I think is idea of family and this collective mindset, which is something that you touched on a little bit, Percy, earlier. I think there's insights and values we can draw from both the collective culture and the individual culture here in the US. It's certainly a balance, but I think a lot of us who grew up in East Asian or Southeast Asian countries have this idea of not just being successful individually, but also bringing the people in the community around you along on that journey. So I think how this, manifests itself in the workplace is, you know, building those personal relationships outside of work relationships, which ultimately make us, more productive and more effective as a team, as well as, making sure that we're not just succeeding as individuals, but also building each other up, allowing other people to succeed, and also ensuring that we succeed as a team. So yeah, both those ideas, the hardworking nature of being an immigrant, as well as the family and collective mindset that we bring to the workplace, are both, I think, valuable aspects of our contribution.
Thank you so much, Nina, and a good reminder that, again, something that we might just take for granted, like using the washing machine, is something that might be entirely new to people too.
For
Percy,
sure.
did you want to add anything else?
Yeah. So for me, I just want to kind of add on to the resiliency that Nina was saying right there. So I was born in just after martial law was declared in the Philippines, and I mean, growing up as a kid back then, everything seems to be okay, right? But what later on I found out that you know um, actually my dad struggled at the first part of the when they declared martial law because the first thing the government is basically shut down all the media outlets, right? And my dad happens to be a journalist at that time, so he basically resort to selling food for to provide, you know, for us, right? So that resiliency, but it's kind of kind of is kind of ingrained in me, I think. And in the history of the Philippines, where Spanish American came and somehow Filipinos managed to be resilient in those big changes, right? And at the same time have a cheerful attitude, and be positive about life. So that's what I think what we can bring into the workplace.
Thank you so much, Percy, and thank you for sharing a personal story too. Our next question is, why is your employee resource group, so the ERGs, important for the company? So we'll go ahead and have one person from each of the organizations. So from our Ford Asian Indian Association, Shri, did you want to answer that one?
Sure, I'll take that first. So FAIA is not only important in promoting diversity within the company and creating cultural awareness, but our goals is also to improve the top line and bottom line for the company. We have three main pillars: brand promotion, people development, and corporate citizenship. Brand promotion is where we promote the Ford brand in the areas we operate, like in North America and India. In North America, we have an event called India Day, where we promote the Ford brand to generate actual vehicle sales for Ford. We showcase our products in Novi. There are like about 25,000 people in attendance around August timeframe. We offer PIN numbers to facilitate incremental sales. These kind of grassroots initiative not only create internal ownership, but also create our own brand ambassadors and generates a great deal of interest and excitement of Ford products in the community. People development, which Gargi Shah leads, we build the next generation of talent within Ford. We have like lunch and learn events and mentoring and executive shadowing and several other events. Corporate citizenship is our third pillar, where we give back to the communities in which we operate, like in North America, again, in India, and also in Europe.
Thank you, Shri. And from our Ford Chinese Association, Ed?
Sure. So I'm in Ford Chinese Association, acronym as FCA. As an employee resource group, FCA upholds three pillars in its mission statement: member development, community outreach, and corporate business support. To advance its members' career development, FCA has been providing focused services and programs such as FCA Annual Mentoring Program, along with monthly career development workshops or training sessions. This year, we have 44 mentee/mentor pairs in the mentoring program, led by a dedicated program committee. Last Friday, there was a group training session about effective presentation skills. On May 26th, there will be a Chinese culture awareness and business ethics workshop. And this workshop is open to everyone. To promote the Chinese American heritage and culture, FCA has been organizing various cultural events and activities, either inside Ford or jointly with our partners in local communities, such as annual Chinese New Year celebration events, very big one. After the past 3 years virtual celebration, we're ready to host everyone again in an excellent in-person celebration. To support the DEI and the business initiative of Ford, FCA has been collaborated with Ford China management and the team exclusively to continue the technology and the business exchange forum, bringing the interesting topics from both US team and China team, and increase the communication at employee level. FCA has also been a dedicated resource to support and host China team's visits. And one last point, FCA was established in 1983, and this year is its 40-year anniversary. This is a major historic event to us and a long journey. To make it short, we will have an in-person celebration event in August. There will be more details in coming months, and we welcome everyone to sign up. We hope by doing all these activities, FCA is helping to build a more diversified and inclusive company culture that everyone feels belonging to.
Thank you so much, Ed. And it's exciting. 40 years is definitely something to celebrate. And from our Ford Filipino network, Percy, did you want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it so happens we were just, in our planning meeting, or we were just kind of chatting about this because, Ford Filipino Network, or FM, is fairly new because, recent revival, as I mentioned earlier, right? And, one of our members of the planning team, she mentioned this, saying that finding and belonging to a group like FFN, where all members share a common background, really helps the employee feel supported, right? And also brings the feeling of connectedness within a large organization like Ford. So that's, I think it's very important. Also, if you are more, feel supported, then you can easily, contribute to the team that you're working with. So that's actually it's what so for in any case for any ERG, right? If it's supported, then it's it applies to it too as well.
Thank you so much, Percy. Now we've understood a little bit about all of your backgrounds and perspectives and learned more about the ERG that you're a part of. But next question is really going to focus on, what we can do in businesses in general. So in what ways can businesses better support and empower their AAPI employees and communities? Nina, did you want to share your perspective?
Yeah, happy to. So I think like a big part of it is definitely, what we talked about in the previous question, just having these employee resource groups available. Like I said, when I first moved to Michigan, I didn't really have any friends here, so the FCA group became my community and became my family that I still very much, made a lot of great friends through that. We have picnics, we have potlucks, we have badminton teams. It's just an amazing group of people. We share, the same sort of cultural understanding, cultural background, appreciation for weird foods that are that we only, grew up eating. Um, but I think beyond that, right, there's also this element of mentorship and sponsorship. Um, I think having a diverse representation in our leadership positions at a company really helps enable and empower employees to seek out people that look like us and share cultural backgrounds similar to us and really kind of have a role model of something that's achievable for us. I remember really vividly when I first joined Ford, I attended a talk that House hosted, and I just remember thinking how refreshing it is to see someone, who have the same cultural background as me, who's doing so well in a company that I thought is very much, American. Um, and it was one of the biggest reasons why I have really enjoyed my time here is through these connections with people who um, probably think a lot like me and have a leadership style that's actually achievable for me and who's doing amazing things at the company. I remember I reached out to Hao and he even connected me with a few other leaders in the company who are women, who are Asian or both. And many of them are still good mentors of mine. And I think it's played an instrumental role in not just building my network and understanding the company, but also know that I can do that too. I can be that person too. So I think if we could have more of those role models in visible leadership positions and have them, endorse the importance of DEI initiatives, it would really help us go a long way.
Thank you so much, Nina. And absolutely, if you have somebody that looks like you or has the same background or, same sex, to be able to look up to them and know that it's possible to get to that level is just so important. Gargi, we haven't heard from you yet. Would you like to add into this question?
Oh yeah, definitely, right. I mean, when Nina was in one of the previous questions, she was talking about being an immigrant coming here with two bags, two suitcases, and not knowing, language, not knowing many things. It just kind of reminded me of myself. I felt a bit nostalgic, right? In in middle of all those things, we even when we come in this brand new country, the country of dreams, uh, we need a lot of support, right? And I really got those support actually. For example, in my first boss or my first supervisor, he used to take an interest in the Indian culture. He would really ask me questions. He would try to understand. And then it's not that it was actually exactly needed, right? But he showed that empathy. He understood, the loneliness probably we were feeling and a little out of place you're feeling in the beginning. He was just embracing and welcoming, right? At the same time, I had a peer actually who really thought the diversity was useless. But you see that, you always gonna, as a human, you're gonna look at the good and accept it and adapt it. And that's what really my first supervisor did. And that also made me actually realize that I need to give that back in the future, right, to the next generation who's coming over here. And one of the other, some of the other women leaders took me under their wings, become my mentors in my journey of, in a corporate America. uh, and that actually all this credit goes to the, this different ERGs and the culture which Ford is trying to create. And then, so recently, actually, another, young girl, actually from, Chinese American reached out to me for the same coaching and mentoring. So I really think that the way the business and we can support is to have give them the voice, allow them to amplify their voice, allow them to have a place and the space, make them feel kind of a, part of it, make them feel valued. And these are the things I think, are very important, right? At the end, we all are human. At the end, we all are one. We all have the same kind of a dream, same needs, same wants, desires. So respect that, and really continue to create this environment where we can have a collaborative, safe workplace.
Thank you so much, Gargi. And when somebody really sees you, it really makes all of the difference in the world, and it becomes more than just coworkers, and now it becomes more of that family and that community. And those are part of the best teams that I've ever been a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, our next question. So kind of a what if of what would our company look like if we were more diverse and inclusive, and what would be one item you would personally love to see happen at work with regards to DEI? Nina, would you like to answer?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say I do think we're doing a great job at prioritizing DEI, promoting DEI initiatives, awareness, and there have been a lot of amazing teams that have been on it for that are just incredibly high performing, very, very inclusive. Um, but I would say I think if we were even more diverse and inclusive, I absolutely think that we will have more productive teams. I think there's a direct correlation between the diversity and inclusiveness of a culture and the productivity and effectiveness of that team. I think DEI is not just, there's a recent article that I read, a study that BCG did on DEI, and I think it's titled something like Inclusion Isn't Just Nice, It's Necessary. I cannot agree more with that. I think when people feel that their voice is respected, regardless of how much experience they have, where they come from, or how little experience they have, in fact, to speak their mind, then everyone is empowered to access their full potential. I think there's a statistic in the study where it says when employees believe that DEI programming is a priority in the workplace, the number of all employees who are happier increased by 31%, and the number of both women and men who feel motivated increased by nearly 25%. So what this tells us is that DEI has an influence beyond just the target audience and the group that is traditionally thought to target. It's a win-win situation for businesses and employees, and it's just the right thing to do. So I think, yeah, I think definitely you could always be more diverse and more inclusive. And I think as a result, we will be more effective and more productive as a company. We'll have better products. We'll have a culture that invites, bright talents who come from all over the country, all over the world, different industries to contribute their diverse perspectives. And what is the one item that I would personally love to see happen? Um, I think something that I noticed, I've been on a lot of teams, and on those teams, I've always kind of been involved in DEI related committees or, you know, planning organizations. And something that I notice is that the employees that tend to volunteer to be involved in DEI, or even the employees who tend to dial into webcasts like this or conversations about DEI tend to be DEI or candidates themselves. Um, and I think what we can do a better job at is really to get the word out, increase awareness of the importance of DEI and encourage people that aren't traditionally thought of as diverse employees to attend. So one example is, so we have this initiative called Deep Brain that we started in corporate strategy, and it's basically just small group 5 or 6 employees that talk about really real and really deep conversations. Um, and our first session is about identity mapping, and you're just realizing that even though I'm the only female on the team, we have, a couple ethnic minorities on the team, but for the most part, it's what you would consider not very diverse employees. But you realize that everyone is diverse in their own way. There's more than one dimension. There's, their family, your upbringing, where in the country you're from, your religion, your sexual orientation. And what people quickly realize is we are actually a really diverse group of people. And I think through that experience, even someone who wouldn't consider themselves diverse recognize the importance of having, such a diverse background and having these conversations where you appreciate the different perspectives that are brought by having a diverse group of people. So I think if we could all do our best to reach out to our teams and our past teams to encourage them to attend these conversations, I think we could really do a better job as a company.
Thanks so much, Nina, for that. Very important to remember those different perspectives, and background is ever so important. And that way, we're not all looking at the problem exactly the same way, right? We're all bringing our diversity into that solution and get a better one because of it. Shri, would you like to go ahead and add your thoughts?
Sure. So I was just thinking about what Nina was saying and making an analogy of something which I had heard something recently, right? So diversity can mean several things to several people. One interesting thing which I heard was from a DEI standpoint, diversity is where you're invited to a party. Equity is when you get to contribute to the song playlist. And inclusion is when you have the opportunity to dance on the floor. So I thought that was interesting and resonated with me. But what's the one thing which you can personally want to see in the company? To begin with, like other ERGs, creating cultural awareness would be the great first step. It would also help if companies can educate the employees and breaking the stereotype. For example, there's a stereotype that all Asian American experiences are the same. There's no person who can represent Asian, and there's a common misconception about all that. And events like the AAPI Heritage Month, this month of celebration at Ford, creates that awareness and educates our employees. And talking about events, we have several events throughout the month. We have 2 with the Chinese Association, understanding Chinese culture, and we have one like in a couple of days or so, understanding Indian culture. Promoting diversity within a group. So I can give a personal example to get a better understanding of everyone around you. Getting to know your colleagues on a personal level, regardless of their culture and background, will help you find some common ground. So in my case, we start our team meetings with like basic check-in questions and icebreakers where we learn new things about our teammates. So this helps us create an understanding and deepen their appreciation of our differences, which showcases the business need for diversity. Also creates like an inclusive and welcoming work environment.
Thank you so much, Sri, for that. And I love a good check-in question. It's something I'll use at work, or I even use it with the softball team that I coach. It's just a way to get to know each other a little bit better, and there's a lot of value in that. All right, moving on to our next question. What are some challenges that the Asian American and Pacific Islander community faces today? And how can AAPI employees and allies really work to educate and raise awareness about the unique challenges faced by this community? Gargi, did you want to take this one?
Sorry, I saw Percy raise his hand. Did you want to add something, Percy?
Yeah, to that last question, really, what's the question? What would be if you're more diverse, right? And one item that so in the first, we want to get to the point that actually where we feel very welcome, right? When you work, right? So I think if we are at that point, yeah, we will be able to basically achieve one of our behaviors, which is focus, right? We can focus on the task at hand. So if we have this environment where it's very inclusive and you don't have to worry about prejudice and things like that, then we can spend more time in focusing on our, the goal that we need to meet for the company. So that's just all I'm gonna add.
Okay. Thank you, Percy, for the add-on, and thanks, Nina, for catching that Percy had his hand raised. Okay, so I'll repeat the question as we go into our sixth question. Is what are some challenges that the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities face today? And how can AAPI members and allies really work to educate and raise awareness into the unique challenges faced by this community? Gargi?
Thanks, Steph. I mean, we all know that the world is becoming much better place than probably many years ago, no doubt about it. And as one of our panel list mentioned, that Ford definitely has done a wonderful job about DEI, right? I mean, this forum is also testament of that. However, there are still challenges faced by AAPI members, if not within the company, but communities, and mainly stereotyping, which Sri talked about, or lack of representation, and sometimes racial discrimination, and even after pandemic, we all have witnessed the hate crime, right? So all these things are real challenges actually. And I can tell you, it's ironic actually. Yesterday only, absolutely yesterday, right? My daughter came home. My second daughter came home, and she really told me that there was two boys at school used the derogatory racial slur with her, and her best friend is actually Chinese American. I'm so proud of both the girls. They really took a stand. They did not really, get phased out from that, and they went to principal. They talked about it, and they came home and she told me about it. So I was really wondering that because, I always talk about what I do in FAIA, what I do as a part of my, diversity, equality, and inclusion to my children, and that I think that helped her to stand up for herself, right? So what as a employee, as a people, as a parent, I think we need to continue to put effort to not only teach, share with our peers and the colleagues, but also to our children in order to create the better future, kind in the society. Instill that curiosity into ourselves as well as into others, such that they want to know, different cultures. They want to embrace different culture. They want to hear the different perspective. And we all know that there are tons of statistics which says all these things makes happier workplace, a better workplace. It also allows us to create a better product. Nina talked about, seeing how Taitang and how she felt, and same way I felt when actually it was with I met Kumar Galhotra as a part of personal development committee, Know Your Leader series, right? And Kumar Galhotra talked about how he has come from the same village, small village, and has where he reached into his experience, right? The success journey, and that motivates people. So how you can help others is really the people who has been successful into ERGs. Invite them, listen to them, and understand from their journey the challenges they have faced, and help somebody else overcome those journeys. As a part of AAPI month, again we invited Linda Zhang to speak with us, and one of the experiences she shared is saying that there was a cost-cutting measure, or wanted to save the cost, and everybody in her team recommended that they should take away the adjustable foot pedal, right? And being a woman, a Chinese American woman, she said no. I mean, how useful and helpful feature that is. So which shows the diverse woman, Chinese woman perspective, how important that was into the team. So personally, one of the things which I really believe that we need to increase the presence of women in the leadership leadership positions. The workforce statistically is really ratio for men and women is 42 to 48 percent. But if you look at the senior management or the executive management or C-suite management, there's only 21% of the women, and out of that, only 5% of the women are the women of color, right? So how company can help us and how the society can help is really the presence of the woman in the leadership as well, right? So and then create an allyship with the and this is not about only allyship with within FAIA or within Chinese association or with the Filipino association, right? It's really allyship, really diverse allyship. Help the ERG team members to show the path, help them and succeed. So these are the challenges which I personally think that we are facing, and that is definitely people can help overcome these challenges.
Thank you so much, Gargi. And Ed, did you want to share a different perspective?
Yeah, I think our Gargi point out one specific challenge that AAPI community is facing today, and I would say it is the racial discrimination and hate incident against the AAPI community over the past 3 years of COVID-19 pandemic have tremendous negative impact to our families, friends, employees, and communities. I'll give you a few numbers. According to the latest national survey of Asian American and Pacific Islander conducted by National Opinion Research Center at the University of Chicago, which was just published on May 3rd, about 2 weeks ago. 49% of Asian American and Pacific Islander nationwide have experienced discrimination or unfair treatment that may be illegal, such as racial discrimination or hate incidents occurring at a restaurant, at grocery stores, public transit, at school, as Gargi point, her daughter and friends experienced, at work. And I heard some of my coworker or friends mentioned they got a complaint from their management about how they should stay at home instead of come to work at a fitness center, at Sideway in our subdivision even. And 50% of those experienced discrimination feel sad, stressed, anxious, or depressed as a result. 45% say and negatively changed their sense of belonging to their school, workplace, communities. This is the big number. 49% means half of AAPI members experience such discrimination and hate incident with this so short a period of time. And as AAPI ERGs and allies, we obviously, with ourselves, we need to build up the grassroots, community-based organization to uphold our own rights and serve our communities. That's our responsibility. That's what every one of us, we need to do in the wake of these hate events. And then from Ford side, we know Ford is one of the largest global company in automotive industry. Not only it improved people's lives throughout hundreds of years, but also it has incredible influence on people's views and opinions, especially here in the US. So at here, I'd like to ask Ford to do more to voice the racial equity regarding the AAPI communities and employees and be a strong ally to AAPI. Not only improve the top line, but also bottom line. We have to be part of, we have to feel free to be part of our community, our workplace. We have to feel belong to this. And so we can contribute more. Otherwise, the safety, the security, once that become a concern, everything else will become a secondary. It's just no doubt. So that's just my add-on.
Thank you so much for kind of sharing the numbers and the statistics, and it just makes it more real. And thank you for bringing awareness to that, because it's definitely something that's not only just been there in the past, but certainly has been more the last couple of years with the pandemic. Shri, did you want to add any additional thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I had a couple of thoughts, right? So talking about struggles, so I've had the fortune of working and talking with the first woman engineer at Ford. Her name is Rani Gupta. And she actually came to iTech a few years back and talked about her struggles as the first woman and the first Asian engineer at Ford. She was actually chosen by Time Magazine for Women of the Year or something. So if you haven't heard of her, just Google her and get to know her. It's also there on the AAPI page, which is the link. But today, those struggles are virtually non-existent, right? We have so much emphasis on DEI at Ford, ERGs. We have like over 12 ERGs, like Women of Ford, FAIA, where people can get support and feel accepted. I myself joined FAIA to give back to the company and becoming a diversity advocate. But like Ed was saying, there's also always going to be unconscious bias where someone with a different accent or a different sounding name can be looked upon differently. So I take it as a personal goal to kind of break down that barrier. And I think Ford is like a poster child for DEI, if you ask me, within the Fortune 500 companies. We have 12 ERGs contributing to the success of Ford.
Thank you so much, Shri. All right, for our last question today, and time has really flown by listening to all the different thoughts and ideas and perspective, is really a round robin for all of you to share any books or films or other resources that have helped you gain a better understanding of the Asian American Pacific Islander cultures and experiences. So why don't we start with you, Shri?
Okay, I'm gonna make it light on a lighter vein. I'm gonna go against the grain and recommend some things which I do not recommend, or is a representation of the Asian Indian culture. Jokes apart, even today, mainstream and popular media like Hollywood often misrepresent the stereotype of what Indian culture is, right? Like Slumdog Millionaire, or if you've seen Indiana Jones, there's always a stereotype. But if you're looking for one documentary which I highly recommend, is by a historian called Michael Wood. It's on PBS, and it's called The Story of India. It's a 7 or 8 episode series, about an hour or so each, and it's wonderfully narrated, and I think that's a must watch.
Thanks so much, Sri. Gargi, what do you have as a recommendation?
So since Sri recommended a kind of a documentary or movie, and I absolutely agree with him that Bollywood movies are, quite dramatic, and they do not actually, reflect the normal culture. It's exaggeration of the culture. So I'm going to go with a book. Me being an immigrant over here, there's a Pulitzer Prize winning author called Jhumpa Lahiri. She has written a book called The Namesake. And there's a movie also made out of that book. I think it was around 2006. And that book tries to portray the immigrant experience and the clash of the cultures and the tangled ties between the two generations, immigrants and their children, very beautifully. So that's my one of the personal favorite, which I recommend people to read.
Thanks, Gargi. And Ed?
Yeah, since Karji recommended some specific films or books, to me, probably I like to recommend some resource. And I found that this is a very good resource for AAPI, and maybe not even beyond API, other minority community and even various resource. So it's called National Archive. I think everybody probably know this. And it's online at archive.gov, where you can find various materials, historic and recent, report, article, audio, video, films about AAPI. And I just and also it's all it's all saved as original format. And if sometimes I heard that some of small audio played on the PBS or on the URP radio, and it really touched me deeply. And the best part is these are the public material, free for everyone. So you can find anytime and any opportunity, just go there, surf it, and pick what you like, and take your time and enjoy those material.
Thanks so much, Ed. And Nina, your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, team, for all the great recommendations. Now I have to check out the National Archive. So many books to read too. But I think for me, I would say similarly to what Shri had commented on, which is that Asian Americans are so typically stereotyped in, media productions. I would say, I mean, this recent Netflix show called Beef, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. It's great to see like kind of almost all Asian American cast. And it's a great show just, by itself, but also good to see such good representation. But I would say something that I recommend to a lot of people to understanding Chinese culture, especially in the context of American culture in the Midwest, is this Netflix documentary called American Factory. Um, it follows the sale of a I think it's a GM factory in Ohio that was bought by a Chinese glass manufacturer and converted into a glass facility. And they, brought a lot of Chinese people to help, bring the plant up and running. And in that, there's this clash of cultures between American and Chinese, and they also brought a group of Americans to China to observe how, the factory is run in China. So it's just really fascinating to see the two cultures kind of coming together. And I think it's a really useful film to watch because there's so many topics that are explored, and it makes you think about the context of cultural clashes not just Chinese in America, but also broadly. And it's also just a good timing because it talks about, unionizing and we have the negotiation happening. So
Thank you for that. And Percy, did you want to add your final thoughts?
Yeah, so there's if you want just learn about the Philippines and culture and food, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, and that's one and I usually do that if want to learn about cultures, yeah, especially like Indian food. I love Indian food. I go there and watch people make Indian food. But anyway, one good book is actually America is Not the Heart by Elaine Castillo. It just it's an immigrant story from during the martial law, as I mentioned, and how she tried to assimilate into the Bay Area in California. So this one that came out in 2018. So.
All right, thank you for that, Percy. And for me, I always find the personal stories are the ones that hit the hardest. And you can look at statistics or history books, especially like for the internment camps, and it seems disconnected. But when you hear a personal story, it becomes much more real as you see it. And so I love reading and listening from George Takei and his experiences that he's had with that. So we are at time now, and I just like to thank all of our wonderful panelists just for sharing your experiences and your stories and really taking the time out of your day today to go ahead and answer these questions. Thank you again. And for all of you out there, I hope you have a great rest of your day as well, and especially as we celebrate our Asian American Pacific Islander Month. So take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.